G'day, Novocastrians. I've fallen over straight out of the gate. Welcome back to the Jetstream for this week. We've been able to get ourselves together and do 2 in 2 weeks, which is great. Matt, welcome back. How you going, mate?
Cheers, mate. No, it's backing up from last week after like a couple of solid efforts, I thought, and a very good effort from the team over the weekend. It makes it easy to back up when there's something positive to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully the listenership goes up. If you're feeling generous, feel free to share the episodes and stuff around and let people know that we exist. But I will also preface last week's episodes by saying we did those in person. I do apologise for the drop in audio quality with how it goes when we record we're recording via Discord at the moment. But yeah, doing it in person, I unfortunately forgot a critical connection cable between my mixer and one of my microphones, which meant I was running everything off the one microphone and probably didn't have it located in the best spot. So there was a lot of behind the scenes post production that took place. I think I was up until 3 a.m. the following morning trying to get all the audio levels right because it was just it wasn't consistent. It didn't sound great. So I got it as good as I could with what I had to work with. I haven't listened back to it yet due to other factors, but hopefully everybody who checked out those 2 episodes last week, especially the AMA with Tane Dreckwater, which was a fairly well received. I got a couple of messages from people saying thanks very much for that and a lot of good information out of it, which is great. We don't do things for people not to enjoy them. So yeah, hopefully everybody found some value in it, Matt.
Yeah, and it was a good chat with Tane as well. Like she was quite upfront. Obviously, there were some certain things like that she wouldn't comment on, which
is fair enough.
I think goes without saying.
Yeah.
But for the most part, she was quite open and honest with all of her answers. So it was good to get a bit of an insight into the business part of the Jets and what her responsibilities and the rest of it, and hear a bit, I guess, about their plans for the future and how they're going to potentially grow, the success that we've had so far this season and continue to scale it.
Yeah, definitely. So, like I said, hopefully everyone's checked it out. But if you haven't, just look at the previous episodes on the website, and you'll be able to check them out or cycle through your podcast app. You'll be able to see all the previous episodes there. But yeah, if you don't subscribe, feel free to go to newcastlefootball.net/podcast, and there's a whole bunch of subscription links there through various services that you can check out the podcast on. So right, we'll get into talking about the match. And mate, Friday night saw the Jets on a Friday night box office Jets at McDonald Jones Stadium, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Tane was hoping for a bit of a bump in the crowds, and she got somewhat of a bump. It wasn't quite the 10,000 that we were hoping for, but you'd think that this Saturday night against Brisbane we'd have to be going close, but going from 5.5, which is what we've sort of been averaging around over the course of the season, 8,200. That's a big bump.
Oh, it is, and it's I guess case in point that the fans are starting to come back. It was like a pretty bitter pill after the first, after the Australia Cup success and then the first 5 rounds of the regular season to go 1-4. I think a lot of people thought it was going to be, another season of same old Jets, and we just were conceding too many silly goals. Like, while we're exciting when we had the ball, like just defensively, we weren't looking like we were a finals team. But over the last couple of weeks, just that enthusiasm on the ball and the doggedness to actually protect the ball when in possessions really started to come through. So these young guys have like, in my eyes, like massively exceeded expectations, and hopefully with the brand of football that they're playing, the crowds will continue to grow to where, hopefully the back end of the season where we're consistently getting sort of 16,000 there.
Yeah, that'd be nice. And I mean, look, we did talk about it last week with Tane, I think, with regards to sponsors and supporters adopting a sort of a wait and see approach when it came to the Jets, because, we've seen this time and time again. administration doesn't get on with the previous coach, gets rid of the coach, goes looking for you, looking to save some, well, not necessarily save some money, but youth doesn't always, investing in youth and concentrating on youth doesn't always pay off. We've seen it before. We saw it with a couple of clean outs with all the expensive older players and trying to promote youth from within, or cherry pick youth from other areas of opportunity around the league, and it hasn't worked out. And we saw with when Ernie Merritt came in, the turnaround in fortunes from finishing last or near last with the previous coach, concentrating on youth, and that was the focus, and the results reflected that. Bringing in some more experienced players bore fruit, and we made a grand final off the back of it. But Millsy's gone completely the other way. But it seems that the quality of youth that he has to choose from and the players that he's put his faith in are just of a much higher quality. And I mean, having said that, some of those players that we did rely on back in the day, in that period that I was talking about, have gone on to have solid A-League careers. Some haven't. Some have gone into the NPL. But there just seems to be, now that we're 7-8 years removed from that, the quality of available youth that clubs have to choose from, and the leagues had to go in this direction due to the cutting of the APL grant going to all the clubs. They've had to rely on youth who haven't got the money in the league to be able to get these big, expensive overseas players in to supplement the squad. So youth is the focus now, but it just seems that across the board, and you can tell with the fact that top to bottom, the league's only separated by less than 12 points, that the youth that's available and the players that the systems in Australia are producing are a lot higher quality now.
Yeah, it's certainly like the budget constraints have certainly meant that people have had to or clubs have had to look for cheaper opportunities. The other thing that I see is it's probably making those not necessarily journeymen, that's probably a harsh word, but those guys that have bounced around the A League for 7 or 8 years or 6 or 7 years, and they're getting to 27, 28, and now looking for opportunities overseas maybe a little bit quicker than what they would, whether it's like India or Malaysia or one of those other leagues that are maybe a little bit more cashed up, because the idea, I think, of paying a slightly above average A League player that's 27, 28, 200 to 300 grand per year just isn't on the cards for a lot of these teams anymore. And it's meant that we've had to go mining, and we've unearthed some real gems, like the Battleados, like Dobson's obviously been with the club for quite a while, but Eli Adams was a great pickup a couple of years ago, and he's really sort of starting to that extra time that he's getting is really starting to bear fruit. Even guys like Lockie Rose, that probably they weren't the number one striker in their club previously, but he's certainly shouldered the extra responsibility. Yeah, it's probably driving the league back to what it should have been originally. I'm not going to say there was too much money in the league, but maybe the focus was wrong. For the last 10 years, where they were happy to play it safe and conservatively and go for the proven product, whereas now a lot of teams are having to roll the dice on younger squads, younger kids, just to keep them under the salary cap. And you're going to have winners and losers out of that. But the big positive that I see out of it is that the league, it is close, but it's not going to be stable. And I think you're going to have these powerhouse teams that dominate year in, year out, because if our young guys continue to play at the level that they are for the entire season, I don't think there'll be another A-League team that will be able to afford them. So we're not going to be losing them internally, like at the end of a contract, to another A-League team, where if anything, we're going to be losing them externally, but at least be getting paid a transfer fee for it.
Well, that'd be nice. I mean, fingers crossed that we don't see what has happened. Happened after the 2008 grand final win. It happened after the 2018 grand final appearance. That players move on, and sometimes coaches move on, and it sort of all sort of peters out for want of a better expression. It just it's like obviously 2009 was a big was a big drop off. 2018, 2019 wasn't as big, but it was still a wasn't the same outcome in the following season that it was in the 2018. But yeah, hopefully these sorts of things see players go overseas, like you said, and we end up getting transfer fees in for them, and then that gives us the opportunity to reinvest, and we're going to be able to bring on, fingers crossed, we still get to see the likes of Will Dobson and younger players like Burton Cello and Bert Alicio and these sorts of players hang around for another 18 months. But then by the time they're ready to get picked up by lower league in England or Europe, we're able to get money for them, and then by that stage, we've got we've been able to blood players like Alex Nunez and all these, Braccos and all these sorts of players that are in and around the squad. Those sorts of players have been blooded into the senior squad, and we also see we've got some better options coming through the academy. So fingers crossed that's the way it works out.
And funnily enough, it was one of the questions that Tane sort of danced around last week about the academy and the opportunities maybe from Central Coast. But did you see the announcement during the week that we actually signed Adam Peacock's
Yes,
son
I
from
did
Central
see that.
Coast?
Yeah, so we signed Adam Peacock's son, Noah, I think his name is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. And we also signed another player as well from Wanderers Academy, Alex Badalado's brother.
Yeah, his younger brother as well. So
What's his name? I
it's,
can't.
it was in the Herald.
Yep.
I did read the article earlier today, but apologies, younger Badalado. The name escapes me at the moment, but it's amazing what a run of form will do as far as increasing your ability to attract young talent. For years we would have been, we would have been like the Knights almost. You've got to pay overs to get a decent player because no one wanted to come here. Now I think with the quality of football they're playing and the opportunities that we're giving to young players, you'd almost have to think we're the top destination in the league for anyone that's in academy or in that 15 to 16 age group to potentially look at making a move to Newcastle and trying to get a start in professional football.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just typed in Alex Badalado brother Newcastle Jets and AI. There's no way AI is going to take over our lives because it's basically saying there's no evidence of a brother of Alex Badalado playing for the Newcastle Jets, which we know is bullshit. But it's yeah. Yeah, it's just one of those funny things.
I'll look it up while you're talking, just so we can reference it later.
Right up, no worries. So we'll get into the game. Obviously, 7:30 kickoff on Friday night. Saw the really, like I mentioned before, really nice crowd. It was good to see less greenery on the hills, covered by people's bums. But they didn't have very much. They didn't have very long to get into the swing of the game before Lockie Bayliss put the ball in the back of the net. I don't think Daniel McBreen on commentary had a chance to open his mouth before the ball was in the back of the net.
Yeah, it was a bit of a ping pong period of play, which I think Lockie Bayliss actually referenced, during the post-match interview as far as when he was scoring the goal. He actually almost turned the ball over, but it was just that intensity and enthusiasm and the little space that we had between that attacking line and our midfielders were able to basically recoup possession straight away, and he did a great job turning away from one player and then dribbling back through another couple. And that early in the game, I guess you don't expect such a composed finish, but and we've got a lot of goal of the season contenders, but that's got to be right up there with one of the best that we scored.
Yeah, Eli's not going to be happy when he sees that because it's obviously Eli's got 1 and 2, I think, in the goal of the season contenders so far, and you got to think that that's got to be pretty close to the top as well. I will say, yeah, like you said, Lockie had the ball and got attempted to play through, but got the ball back thanks to a defender's leg being in the way, and then got to mention really good work. Really good work from Clayton Taylor, Nicholas Badalado. Really good work from Clayton Taylor, basically shepherding Alex Rufer out of the way to open the space up for Lockie to be able to take that shot as well. And again, we hadn't seen Clayton for ages and ages and ages, and with all the talk that came out in the off season about him wanting to move away and everything else, we were wondering whether he's even interested in playing for this club anymore. But you've got to go off the performances since he's hit his straps. He is absolutely playing out of his skin and close to being MVP most weeks.
Mate, he's been brilliant, hasn't he? It took a couple of weeks to get back up to speed, and I still remember that one game playing in the wet, where everything was conspiring against him. Like
Yeah,
he had the air swing, he got tackled by the water a couple of times,
Puddle made
but
an appearance.
he was still finding spaces, and the ball was just coming to him nonstop, and it wasn't conducive to his kind of game. Um, and I'll hark on it again and it's probably annoying for some listeners, but I know that I said he'll struggle to get back into this team, with the way that Bertoncello, etc., were all playing. It's only sort of taken a little bit of a dip in form from a couple of players, and him to get a few minutes in his legs. But it just goes to show, like uh, experience is a real factor. And he's still only young. He's still only 21, but he's got a couple of years of A-League sort of behind him now, and he's not playing like a 21-year-old. He's playing like he's way too good for this league, and
Yeah.
he's certainly one that we should be looking to re-sign, because I don't think it'll be long before a bigger club comes knocking for him,
Yeah,
looking
I
for him.
yeah, I would say that's probably going to happen before the end of the season. I would say enjoy this time while with Clayton while it lasts, because yeah, I'd say in the off season that's probably going to happen. It'd be nice if he'd sign like a 2 year extension to his deal, because I'm pretty sure it runs out at the end of this season. He's able to move on a free.
Yeah, I believe so. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, I think that was he did the year extension maybe
yeah.
halfway through last season.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, he who shall not be named as his agent will probably be pushing him not to sign a deal, so that makes him easier to shift away. But yeah, it'd be good if we could kind of get some, like, you're in a catch-22. Do you keep him in the team and make use of him until the end of the season, lose him for free, or do you see if you can capitalise on him before the end of the transfer window in 2 weeks and make some money off him before he leaves? I suppose that's sort of the conversations that we're not going to get answers from Tane or from Nigel about his contract, but we'd hope that we'd be able to get something for him.
Oh, like you'd certainly hope so, but you wouldn't begrudge the guy after what is it, 2 or 3 seasons that he spent with us now?
Oh,
Like
it's
he's
got to
he's
be.
certainly
This has
put the
got to be.
work in.
I'm pretty sure it's his third season.
The only thing, like the only draw card in the carrot I think that we can offer him is like Asian League exposure.
Yeah.
And if we go out and win, if we win the Cup or the Plate this year, does that promote us into ACL one?
I believe it would.
So
Well, we've
even
already
though, yeah,
we've already qualified for ACL two, but we would.
but there's a lot more money in ACL
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
and whether the temptation is there to sign another 12 months, just so he can go and get that extra exposure on a bigger stage, because that's going to certainly open him up to more offers than what he'd be getting at the moment.
Well, it's actually worth listening to a couple of the A League podcasts around the league. I can't remember if it was Round Ball Australia or Aussies Abroad. I'm pretty sure it's a Round Ball Australia podcast that were talking about the Malaysian football federations in a bunch of hot water with the Asian Football Confederation, and they may actually get all their ACL spots taken off them. So if that's the case, apparently one of the possible spots goes to Australia as an extra. So in that might give the opportunity for us to not it depending on obviously how high we finish and what the qualifying spots are, we may end up in ACL Elite rather than ACL two, and that ACL two might go to a different club. So yeah, it could be interesting. The only problem is
Heidelberg.
yeah, I don't know if they qualify. That's the only problem. But the problem with that particular scenario is going to be those ACL games don't start until what? They don't start for another 8 months, I think. Don't they? I'm pretty sure those competitions don't start until like July, August, which is when the rollover of contracts takes place. He would if he wants to play ACL competition, he would actually have to sign an extension for that to for him to stay at the club. He wouldn't be able to, just with the way the competition times out with our season, he'd need to sign a year extension to play in that competition.
That's perfect for us.
Perfect for us, but whether it's an option or not is going to be whether it's an option for him at this stage in his career. Does he stay here for another 12 months and try and grow his reputation even more and maybe look to make a bigger move in 12 months, or does he strike while the iron's hot now?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of players on the back of a hot season sort of move overseas and then, end up back here a couple of
Yeah,
years later for,
goes
being
terribly.
not a mediocre player, but a recycled player like Arzani's probably case in point.
Yep, yep.
And he takes an injury or two. Um,
Or even just signing for
oh,
the wrong club, like when Nicky Carl went overseas and bounced around from lower league with a manager that, I think it was, who was it, Neil Warnock. I think he ended up playing under for 12 months and then went to Turkey and bounced around some of the local European leagues. Whereas if he'd actually gone into wherever he got signed for, like with the hot momentum he had when he went overseas, he might have actually been able to build on it. Like it's really it's a really difficult thing to be able to choose the right. You got to choose the right club. It's got to have the right, systems in place. The manager's got to want to play you. You hope that players don't get signed over the top of you. Is the step up back then to now with the increase in physical exertion and training and all that other stuff? Because we're still not a full time, like the levels of training that we produce here isn't at a European level yet. It may be not so much a step up if you go to Asia and then you go to Europe. It's probably a
well,
better a better pathway to take.
the player that the Jets player I most closely compare him to is probably Riley McGree. And Riley came to us after he went overseas and, didn't make it.
Yep.
And then came back, played for us, was way too good for the league,
Yep.
had a really good sort of, he didn't even play the full season for us. I don't think he played maybe 8 or 9 months, but then that on the back of that was enough to go back over. And,
Yep.
maybe that's someone that Clayton needs to speak to and take some advice because I think if Riley had played another 12 months for Adelaide, um, it would have been a different outcome, of in that or with that initial sort of overseas move. So, yeah, and I know it's been said by different commentators that have got way more knowledge and experience than me that A-League players look to jump overseas at the first opportunity, and quite often they do it too quickly. Even Viduka played a couple of seasons in the NSL and was the top goal scorer for what a couple of seasons straight before he went overseas.
Yep.
Um, I don't think you can do it like after a flash in the pan moment. I think you've got to, prove consistently that you're above this level skill wise, and you're also hardy enough to play full time professional football. And maybe that's one thing that would hold him back is the injuries that he's had.
Yep. Yep.
While playing for us. So, to get another at least 12 months of sort of solid football playing here and starting week in, week out and being one of the best players on the pitch, it's probably not going to hurt his prospects anyway. Not if he goes over at 22 instead of 21.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, fingers crossed. We get to see him more than this season, but yeah, like I say, with most players that we find worming their way into our soccer hearts, we try and appreciate them for as long as we can because you never know when the when the when the tap on the shoulder and the wave goodbye and the thank you social media message ends up being posted from their Insta. Will take place. So yeah, that was an interesting little aside. We'll delve back into the game now, and look, the heading the rest of the rest of the first half was basically a fairly even arm wrestle for the most part. Very exciting. From going back and I didn't watch this game live. I watched this game just a couple of hours before we sat down to record this, and yeah, like I said, the overall memories I have from this half, apart from absolute plethora of Delianov saves, was basically a titanic arm wrestle between the two between the two teams on the pitch, and by the time the half-time whistle went, it was pretty even, except for I think the on the XG side of things, where pretty sure I remember a stat coming up that Wellington's XG was actually slightly higher for them than ours because of the bunch of saves that Delianov had to make.
And so should it have been. Like the we created some opportunities, but the opportunities they created were a lot more clear cut. I mean, everyone's going to remember the triple save that Delianov made, but there was also
One
the
10 minutes
save that he made
beforehand.
versus Piper, I think,
Yep,
that where he got low to his left, which was almost a carbon copy of the Bertoncello goal.
yep.
Um, Mate, he's been absolutely fantastic. Like I remember I posted something on like a Facebook thread after the MacArthur loss where everyone was bagging him again, and I said he like the 2 weeks before that he's probably been the form keeper in the competition. I know I gave him a bit of stick early in the season because he was quite indecisive in different moments, especially sort of coming out for the ball.
Yeah, you
But
weren't the
mate,
only one. You weren't the only one.
he he has been absolutely brilliant. Like I cannot think of a keeper that we've had in the last 10 years that would even cast a bit of shade on the way that he is playing at the moment. Like he stands head and shoulders above anyone else that we've had, playing between the sticks, like I said, for the last 10 years. Guy has been absolutely immense. And the reason that we are in the position that we are in the table isn't because of the goals we're scoring, because we were scoring those goals early in the season as well. It's because of Delianov, Natter, and whoever's been partnering Natter over the last sort of 6 weeks have stepped up so much. It's been yeah amazing, and like his sort of resurgence and the fact that he didn't let the socials get to him, and
Yep.
he didn't he hasn't sort of gone into his shell. It certainly hasn't affected his confidence any like one bit. Like that save he made against the post last week like was brilliant. Like
Yep.
to get one hand against it and then parry it into the post and still be able to handle it there, hold the ball there. The save versus Piper, the triple save, mate, he's kept us in so many matches because goals at those times were absolutely crucial. So, he's right up there for me as far as being one of our absolute best. He'd be the best, if not in the top three, as far as anyone else that's in the squad.
Yeah, definitely. And to preempt the episode title for this week, he's got to be an octopus because during that triple save phase of play, it was just everywhere, like feet, arms, body. It looked like he had. It looked like he had 8 arms to be able to pull some of those saves out. And what I've also noticed that whereas the beginning of the season, our defense looked confused and wasn't quite sure where to stand, and it seemed to be fairly static. I mean, just looking at that triple save, you could see there were 3 and 4 defenders on the line, moving around, trying to block passages and block passages into the goal, in case there was a volley or a hard hit where they the better chance of one of our defenders actually getting to it. And it was basically not to also preempt the discussion on the goal that we conceded towards the end of the game. There was which was basically due to a player getting pulled out of position and the other players not being as nimble and mobile as what they were showing in this first as in that passage in the first half. We seem to have worked on our defense a lot more, and they're moving around and they're stopping a lot of these because like it's not a solid defensive block where we're stopping everything from going into the 18-yard box. We're still conceding those opportunities, but we seem to be able to handle them a lot better than we were in the early part of the season. Your microphone's off.
excuse me, does that mean we'll call him Tentacle enough?
Yeah, I'm not putting
No,
that down as an episode title.
he's been great. There's no two ways about it. And so, just quickly rewatching those highlights, it
Yep.
wasn't just Delianov though, and it wasn't just the centre backs. Like, I mean, Wilmering getting back into, to block a shot. There just seems to be so much more desperation now across the team, like across the midfielders. Right from the front. With the press and the desperation to get back when we do turn the ball over. That was what we were missing, during those first 5 or 6 weeks, and that was probably what we we're missing in the Australia Cup as well. Um, you know, we had a few, easy goals scored against us,
Yeah.
in transition, but that just doesn't seem to happen anymore because as soon as we turn the ball over, everyone tucks back inside, everyone gets back, and they're not just there for the flair, it seems anymore, Ferns. They're
Yeah.
there just to win the ball back and keep the ball, and that's like the most prized possession. So
And
that's good.
rather than standing still and trying to, throw a leg out or something, we're actually going to the player to close down the angles and to try and get the ball away and try and block the shot. It's a different defensive mindset that we're seeing.
Absolutely, it is. Like, uh, I remember, we spoke about it. I think before maybe the Wellington game that we just needed like a dog in midfield, or I did. We needed a dog in midfield where the opposition was a little bit afraid to go into a 50-50. So, being that little bit more hesitant that all of a sudden it turned it from a 50-50 to a 60-40 our way. That seems to be our whole team now.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not necessarily with pure aggression. It's a mixture of like enthusiasm and the skill that they've all got on the ball, but they've all realized that they've got to go in and use a bit of shoulder, use the body, and just block off the running lanes, block off the passing lanes, and they're all good enough players that if they can get a foot on it, they can generally turn another player. But it was, I think that early in the season we were too relaxed about allowing the opposition to have the ball or have time on the ball. Now, like the last 6 weeks, the Jets don't let you have time on the ball. The Jets are like, if you've got the ball, we're going to get it back as quickly as possible. Every now and again, we'll give a bit of space and allow a bit of allow the lines to reset and whatnot. But we don't do that in the final third.
Yeah.
No, it's great to watch. So I'd really love to have been a fly on the wall for that week worth of coaching sessions that Mills has obviously done, where the focus must have changed a little bit. Like we're not just out there to attack; we're out there to attack. Even when we're defending, we're attacking. We're going to be aggressive in trying to win the ball back, and the whole team's going to do it. And you've really got to look at Lockie Rose. I think for that. Like he week in, week out runs his absolute ass off. Even though he didn't score last week, he still put in a massive shift. And he sort of sets the whole tone and the whole tempo for how we're going to play. Like, he was an absolute pain in the ass player to play against, but
Yep.
now the whole team are becoming pain in the ass players to play against. Like, Burgess,
Yep.
Rose, and then it seems to be rubbing off on like other guys like Taylor, Dobson, Adams. Um, Wilmering has been like outstanding this season.
Yep.
Number of assists that he's got has been off the charts. Like he
Burton
was,
Cello.
you know, yeah. I mean, Bertoliccio's like, really cemented that right back spot. Nada has been immense. Like he had one or two sort of shaky moments when he first came back into the team, and he might have been lucky that there were injuries that were keeping him in there. But now he's the first centre back picked. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Unlucky not to score in this game too, just before half
Oh
time,
yeah,
where he had a shot and their keeper got a hand to it.
great turn when you've got Daniel McBreen complimenting you on your first touch inside the, like probably 8 yards out from goal, where he's brought the ball down, turned, and then absolutely hit a screamer. It was a good save by McCarran.
Yep.
Yeah, like that could have been two for us, and then we would have been well on our way. But that I guess goes back to the arm wrestle that you were alluding to earlier. Both teams creating opportunities. Like that was one where we probably had no right with a centre back, bringing the ball down back to goal, 8 or 10 yards out. But he made the absolute most out of it, and yeah, the way that he's been able to play in games, he's been really good in the duel, especially in the air. And I mean, don't forget that he was instrumental in Lockie Rose sort of getting the last minute goal
Yep.
a couple of weeks ago as well, where we were down to 10, like against Auckland. So no, the whole team effort, I think, has gone up at least 50%. Like intensity and effort's probably gone up 50%, and that probably goes back to the fact that we are such a young team that we can put in those extra efforts, and it's great to watch. Like the crowds have to keep improving if this effort stays consistent.
Yeah, definitely. You'd think so. And yeah, also giving a callback to a previous episode title a couple of seasons ago, he's definitely giving off Topple Stanley vibes. Not necessarily with the exact same style of haircut, but something pretty close. But yeah, definitely with the being a lot more attacking than I ever remember a lot of our defensive centre back players being. Anyway.
He's probably the only one that's over about 5'6" as well. Like so, uh, we need someone. We need a couple of targets in the middle of the park for corners. We saw Shaughnessy got a goal.
Yep.
When was it? Last week?
Yep.
So yeah,
He
maybe
nearly
Natta's
nearly got
feeling
an
like
he nearly got
the
another one.
burden's
That
on him.
he nearly got another one against Phoenix as well.
Yeah, true,
Yeah,
true.
but it would have been offside if the ball had gone into the back of the net. But it was a good effort. But yeah, calling back to the starting 11 before we put a pin in the first half, it was a bit of a surprise, I think, to a lot of people. There seemed to be a little bit of doubt around Eli after his shot being too good for his hamstrings last week against Wanderers. We thought we wouldn't see him for a couple of weeks, but yeah, he was straight back into the starting 11 and didn't look like he had any issues at all. He was, as usual, everywhere again.
Oh, and thankfully.
Yeah,
I do remember reading somewhere, maybe a physio, like in an interview, maybe a physio said that it could also be like a nerve rather than hamstring because they can feel like quite similar. So um, I would hope that all possible precautions were taken with Eli, before he started that match, and
yeah.
he was 100%, but he certainly didn't sort of show any signs of being ginger, or not committing 100%. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, they did name him in the squad the previous day, and they were. It was. I'm pretty sure it was noted in the Herald article or one of the articles that he was going to be given a fitness test a couple of hours before kickoff to be able to pass. So yeah, I would say they definitely were erring on the side of caution to make sure he wasn't going to make any further problems. But yeah, he did really well. Unfortunately, we still didn't see Grozos in this game, and he sounds like he's out with an injury for a couple of weeks, but didn't really seem to make our midfield suffer at all either. Bayless basically, not being the same sort of player in his position, basically they seem to possibly share the defensive duties across a couple of midfielders rather than, Grozos being the major linchpin of the midfield. They were all basically hunting in packs and spreading the defensive load around.
Yeah, and as much as you like to see Max Burgess playing that slightly more attacking role because he is so good on the ball and so good at picking a pass, like he seems to be the organizer for the team.
Yeah.
So maybe having him play a slightly deeper role where he's constantly facing the ball and able to reorganize the lines, and he's got the experience, so he's probably the most vocal on the pitch as well. Um,
Sort of what we saw with Battleado after, basically getting targeted for a couple of weeks, playing in that more advanced position. Milsey brought him back more of an 8 than a 10 and seemed to see more fruit from him and more influence in games before his ACL injury, unfortunately. But it looks like we're seeing, whereas Burgess sort of got moved further forward and was more of the 10, now that Battleado's gone, we've seen him come back a little bit and we're seeing similar sort of output from him in a more withdrawn position.
well, yeah, you could almost say we played with two eights, like
Yeah.
Dobson and Bayliss were almost two eights. They were box to box, but they're both young. They've both got the energy for it, and and Burgess was probably playing the deepest out of our three midfielders. So yeah, it's good to see the not changes in tactics, because I think the tactics have probably remained pretty similar, but the slight changes in roles that the individual squad players have been able to take on week in, week out, depending on what's required. Like, you know, I thought that one of the big holes in the squad was we didn't have that hard tackling centre midfielder, but we've certainly made up for it with enthusiasm.
Yeah, definitely. Just having a look at FOTMob with the stats for the first half. I actually tell a lie. According to this, the XG for us at the end of the first half was 2.27, whereas Phoenix's was 1.96. But it was all pretty similar across the board. 52 to 48% possession. Five big chances to Wellington Phoenix, two to us. Accurate passes, 191 to 166, 85% for us. 16 shots to 11, five shots on target for each team. Everything did pretty well on the corner count, five corners in that first half to one of theirs. Yeah, like I said, 16 shots to 11 total shots. So, and having just flicking the slider over to the second half, it was pretty similar in the second half. But it just seemed that Wellington were a lot less effective in that second half, and it told on the scoreboard.
Uh, yeah, like I don't, whatever was said at halftime, or maybe it was fatigue with the travel, or whatever the case may be. But we just seemed to be a lot more clinical, and
Yep.
as soon as we got that first goal 10 minutes after the break, they were definitely on the back foot. It was whether or not we could score five or six, more than whether or not they would score one to make a game of it.
Well, there was very little difference. There was barely any movement in ball possession stats. We went from 52% possession in the first half to 48, so that was pretty equal. But the big difference was the XG, where we went from 2.27 to 1.51. They went from 1.96 to 0.29. So there was a definite drop off in the way that they played that second half. We were just more effective, and they didn't threaten us. And I don't remember there being very many saves at all from Delianov in that second half.
Yeah, yeah, true. And we seem to be having a lot of sort of success down that left hand side, and when you've got
Yeah.
a guy like Tim like Payne, sort of playing playing as the right back, you sort of wouldn't expect that. He's been a seasoned campaigner for years and years. Um, yeah, like I can't put my finger on exactly what the cause was, or what changed, but yeah, confidence, mate. Like,
Yeah.
you know, young team, confidence. We strung a few passes together. We got that early success, and then we didn't really take our foot off the throat for the rest of the match.
Before we get into talking about all the goals in the second half, a lot of mail around the league is that we're chasing Alex Rufer coming off contract for the Phoenix at the end of the season. We're chasing him to try and get him to sign for next season. 29 at the moment. He'll be 20. He'll be 30 in June. You reckon it'd be a good pickup?
Yes, is the short answer. Um, Given that I expect that we'll probably lose Coda, who hasn't had massive minutes this season, but I would imagine that he's a very good influence on the squad.
Yep.
Given that roofers are nailed on international, even if it is just for New Zealand. Like, I mean, they certainly punch above their weight, and given the position that he plays, that sort of holding midfield role, I think from a leadership perspective, he'd be a really good signing. I thought he had a good game against us, even if the scoreboard didn't necessarily reflect it.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. He's always one of their most solid players, and they definitely won't want to lose. Pretty sure he's captain for their country as well, isn't he? Or is that Chris Wood?
Chris Wood, I think.
Yep. But he'd be one of the major influences for the All Whites. So they definitely over in Wellington wouldn't want to be losing him. But he's been there a fair while. It seems like he's been in the league for a decade. But yeah, like I said, he's only 29. So he's certainly grown with the league and with that team, and yeah, it'd be a great pickup for us, but it would be interesting to see whether he would be forcing Grozos out, or it would be in addition to, because you did see, obviously, we have seen Grozos have a few injury niggles over the past couple of seasons. When Bayless went off, Cicluna was played in that sort of more of a holding role as well. So we do, and obviously Bracco, who was we think is possibly going to be an option for that spot down the line, but obviously we're not going to see him this season as well. But it'd be definitely be a handy pickup.
Well, you've also got Burgess that's 31 at the moment as
Yeah,
well. So,
yeah,
while 31, you'd expect he's still got a year or two at least in him. Like if we continue to play this sort of really high intensity football, it might be a sort of situation that he has to start reducing his load and his minutes, over the next couple of years to prolong, um, prolong his career. So, um, you know, we we need experience if we're going to keep bringing in, young 18, 19, 20-year olds, just to keep the ship on course. And I think it'd be an amazing pickup, to be honest with
yep. Well, we're over 45 minutes, so we better kick on with this.
you.
Kick on with this game, or otherwise it's going to be another hour and a half episode. So yeah, 55th minute saw the Jets get the ball and break down through the midfield. Good work from Wilmering to lay the ball off for Clayton Taylor, and he just found the smallest passage through to the goal, and he's just absolutely smacked it.
Yeah, he did the defender like an absolute dinner too, didn't he? Like,
Yep.
two touches, sent him one way, sent him the other, and then just created that little bit of space.
Remy Nazarene, I believe that was.
Yeah, yeah, quite possibly. That I mean, he came off sometime in the second half, but yeah,
Yep.
I was sorry, quickly looking at the replay, it does look like it was Nazarene, and
Yep.
keeper was unsighted.
Couldn't do anything about it.
From Yeah, it didn't react until the ball was already in the net.
Mm.
Absolute bullet from Taylor, and we need another 12 months of that just to so that he can continue to build his case for an overseas move.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think Wilmering also did Armiento down that left hand side as well. So yeah, so two really quality players. I don't think Armiento had a very good game. I remember McBreen or one of the might have been the sideline reporter was saying that Chiefy was yelling at Armiento and whoever else was playing out on that side of the pitch that he wasn't happy with the joy the Jets were getting down that side. So that was certainly wouldn't have helped.
Yeah, look, and in years past, I think Wilmering would have just hit that first time and put it straight across and just sort of hope for the best, but he didn't. He let the ball run across him. He brought the ball back. It was a great pass like from Adams as well to find Wilmering in the box. But yeah, it's just the composure the sort of team is showing like in those sort of attacking positions. The pass from Adams, the two touches that Wilmering took to find Taylor, and then just that little bit of razzle dazzle that Taylor pulled out to put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah, fantastic play.
Yeah, and then speaking of Adams, he was on the score sheet in the 69th minute with a brilliant run into space by Lockie Bayliss down that left and basically centred the ball, and Eli didn't even have to break stride, just basically straight on his toes, and he just mashed it into the net, and Eli gets another one.
Probably one of the only ones he'll score with his right foot as well. Yeah, like good ball, good team play. Bayliss having an absolute blinder after, he's probably struggled to cement a first team spot because of like the other players, Grozos, Battleado, etc., that have been sort of above him in the pecking order. But I really feel like he's getting back to that form that he initially showed when. Sorry, how long have they been playing for us? 2 seasons, 1 season, but we had an Australia Cup run where he and Taylor had just been signed a couple of years ago.
I'm pretty sure they joined at
And they,
close to the same time. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure it
they
was
did,
two
they
seasons
did,
ago.
and
Yeah.
they were both looking really, really good. And initially, I think
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he
Bayless had
was
more
out. I'm pretty sure
success.
Bayless might have got an injury that put him out because I'm
Injury,
pretty sure he
yeah.
was him and Taylor came in for Rob Stanton's first season. Bayless actually looked the better player for a good stretch, And then I think I'm pretty sure from memory, he might have got an injury that put him out for a fair while. And that was when Taylor hit his straps and
Yep.
really started to develop his play and, yeah, reputation.
Yeah, and uh, I'm certainly remembering that kind of timeline, those kind of events. But no, he seems to be really hitting his straps. Like he
Mm,
just the extended period that he's had. Like he's had when he's come on as a reserve, like or substitute. He's always had decent minutes. Um, he's now that he's sort of been in the starting lineup and he seems to be sort of finding his feet and a bit more confidence. Like it's amazing what confidence can do to a young player because he's still only 23.
yeah.
Um, he's been there and thereabouts. He's played for the under 23s team for New Zealand. I think he might have had a senior appearance as well. But um, all the news, the reports are that he's pushing for an all white spot, like in a World Cup year, and um, he, he's certainly making the most of it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. The slight cat amongst the pigeons in the 85th minute was when Natta got dragged all the way out to the left hand side of the pitch, trying to shut a ball down, and just sort of left us not necessarily a little bit short in the middle, but that was what was the player's name? Khartoum, I think, was the one that got the ball in the about 12 yards out in off to the left hand side of the goal and just place the ball in the back of the net. Really good piece of play from him. But yeah, just slightly disappointing. We sort of surrendered that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a little bit of disorganization, wasn't it? Because for whatever reason, um, Nada, before the initial ball had even been played, he sort of lined up outside of Wilmering,
Yep.
with Wilmering sort of back in the centre back spot, and I don't think I don't think Nada necessarily did anything wrong. He had to continue to follow the play. You know,
But the other player
Wilmering
should
sort
have
of
covered him a bit better.
yeah, I think Wilmering, possibly could have come out a little bit, faster, but it was a great finish. Like,
Yeah.
Khartoum is a Nord, I believe.
Yes.
So he's obviously had European football experience, not necessarily at the top level, but great finish. And he was a handful. Like been or he will be a good pickup for them. I'm imagining.
Swedish, I think, or Swedish or Norway.
I think he's Nord.
Yeah. Probably right, but yeah, I'm not really too up on import signed by Wellington Phoenix, but it didn't really matter. There was the momentum shifted their way a little bit.
Norwegian. Yep.
They looked a little bit more threatening in the closing stages, but we were able to put a fourth away in the 88th minute. And I'll let you talk about this without taking it off your toes.
Mate, clinical finish. It was, almost a replay of, from the first half where Piper had his save, but um, Bertolicio, once again, is getting that super sub moniker that
Yeah,
Dr. Emma likes to reference. That he is one of those players that maybe if he's on for the entire game, he doesn't have the impact, but when he comes on with 10 minutes to go, he's got that extra hunger and he's looking for the ball and um, I can't remember who actually played the pass to him.
Bertoncello.
Let me Bertoncello,
Yeah,
good ball, across the penalty box. Yeah, it was. To find uh, Bertolicio, level with about the penalty spot, and he didn't make any mistakes. It was a great finish. He couldn't have finished it any better. Left the keeper absolutely stranded. All McCarran could do was kind of stick out one leg, but the ball was already 3 meters past him by the time he did that. So that certainly sealed the 3 points for us.
yeah. So Bertoncello scored it, and Bertolicio was the assist. Just making
What should
sure
I say?
we might have. I think we might have got our Bertoncellos and Bertolicios
Yeah,
mixed up, but yeah. So Bertoncello was
Bracco,
credited with the goal.
Bracco, Bertoncello, Bertolicio. Yeah.
Bayless. Yep. Now, FOTMob had Blocky Bayless as the man of the match with an 8.6 rating. Did you agree with that, or did you have someone else that you thought had a man of the match performance?
Oh,
It was pretty good performances from most across the board, I think. Delianov would
I,
obviously have to be close.
I thought that, yeah, Bayless was very good, but yeah, I think for the gravity of the saves that he made, I think I'd have to give it to Delianov,
Yep.
Tentikalonov.
They put Bayless. They put Bayless top of the tree. Wilmering in second with an 8.2, and Delianov with an 8.1. But yeah, I agree with you. I reckon Delianov would have to be just purely with the saves he made. It was fabulous performance from him, and that sees the Jets sitting in second spot. I think so. Yeah, just having a look at this table, I'm hoping this is correct because it's not giving me. Was it equal points or were we 1 point behind Auckland?
We're 1 point behind.
1 point behind Auckland. That's what I thought. Yeah. So Auckland sitting on. So this table's correct. Auckland top spot 25 points. Jets second spot 24 points. MacArthur 23, Sydney and Adelaide 22, 21 for Brisbane, 20 for Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City, Wellington Phoenix 18, Perth Glory 16, Western Sydney 15, and Central Coast propping up the league on 13 points. Just going to quickly
Sydney's still
confirm
got a game in hand though.
Yes.
So they could, if they do win this week, who is that against? I think
it's Auckland and Sydney.
Well, that's
the game at Leichhardt that got called off. The game at Leichhardt that got called off.
Right, from round 10.
Yep. Yeah, Christmas, I think. Christmas week or New Year's week, the week between Christmas and New Year. One of those two. Yeah. So they're so yeah, there's a couple of is there a game going on at the moment? There's I'm pretty sure
when do they play Auckland?
Who?
Sydney.
Sydney. Yeah, good question.
They've got sorry, I'm just looking at something. It's showing that they play Western Sydney on the 31st.
Yeah.
Which would be Saturday.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it was supposed to have taken place, but I'm just going to kick back. So it's okay. So the rescheduled match is on the 17th of February.
Okay, yeah, a couple of weeks. So,
couple of weeks.
Yeah, they play Western Sydney this week, which you'd almost have to expect that they would win.
Well, you'd think so.
Which is going to sort of put them, back ahead of us, still with the game in hand. You'd prefer to have the points than the game in hand, though.
Yeah, you definitely think so. Now, what? Yeah, there's some really weird stuff going on with this A-League app. It goes round 11, round 17, round 20, round 12, round 13, round 14. Like, why do that? Yeah, we just can't get shit right. So yeah, the other results that took place in round 14 was a 2-2 draw between Auckland and Mariners. Adelaide ran out 3-2 winners over Brisbane. MacArthur 6-2 win over Melbourne City. Wanderers had a 1-0 win over Perth, and Victory had a 4-0 win over Sydney, which really threw the cat amongst the pigeons. And it's going to make things very interesting for this week for our tips, but it's just impossible to try and predict, which is just, having a look at the leaderboard in our little Jetstream tipping competition, it's all over the show. Like, apart from Dr. Emma, who appears to be able to tip pretty consistently 3 and 4 winners every week, and apparently she just tips on vibes.
Well, I've got to say, I would be 6 more points if I could actually pick the Jets, but I can't because ever since I've picked against them, we've won every game. So now I just have to stick to it.
Yeah.
As much as I thought we'd win, I feel like if I change my tips, then we're going to lose. So I've got to keep back, picking against them. And that hat trick that the young guy from Adelaide scored when he came on as a sub versus Brisbane. That was ridiculous, to score a hat trick in 25 minutes or 30 minutes on the pitch. Good way to raise your stocks in the A-League. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Right, so we'll quickly cover off the game this week, which sees Brisbane travelling to Newcastle Saturday afternoon, 5 p.m. kickoff. So get along to McDonald Jones Stadium. We've got a great chance of cracking 10,000 this week, especially after a club equaling record run of wins. We look to be extending that to 5 in a row, and off the back of a 4-1 win the previous week, you'd think that a Saturday afternoon game, 5 p.m. Looks like it's going to be clear skies all the way through. You'd think that would be a great chance of getting to that getting over that 10,000 mark.
Good time to have the game as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
5 p.m. Friday. Oh, sorry, Sunday. Most people are going to be finished work. I won't. I'll finish right on 5. But yeah, hopefully it's good weather,
yeah,
and hopefully that everyone that's been considering turning up for the last couple of weeks, it's going to get them across the line to actually get in there and watch it. We know there'll be goals. We know it'll be a bit of an arm wrestle.
it's
With
exciting.
the way that Brisbane have been playing, and they certainly, you know, not taught us a lesson, but showed us a different way to play the game when we played them up there earlier in the season. So it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely going to be a difference in styles between the two teams. You did have it right. It's people that have been playing the wait and see approach for the last couple of years, not just the last couple of weeks. But yeah, you'd think that in previous games where we'd be almost on the cusp and then we'd get like a bump in a crowd and we wouldn't capitalize on it, we'd lose the game. We didn't do that this time around. So you'd think hopefully we're going to be able to, and even if we don't win, like if they do manage to outmuscle us, we'll see enough from the team that the public see that it's a worthwhile team to get behind because of the style of play, the youngness of the team, the fact that there's so many locals, young local talent in the team as well, that and a former player coaching us, and it's exciting time. We're on a more level financial footing compared to everyone else now, where we're not having the ownership issues that we had. There's so many boxes ticked as to reasons why people should be showing up to this now.
I don't know if that was a question or a lead in, but
If you've got anything to add to that, feel free. But I'm guessing by that you don't. So, look,
I agree.
we did excellent. So we didn't have any changes in the starting lineup between the Wanderers and the Phoenix game. Do you reckon there's going to be any changes with this game as well, or will we go pretty much the same starting 11 as we did the previous two?
I can't imagine there'd be changes. Especially that given that the predictions were that Costa would still be out for another week.
Yep.
He would be the only one that would be like a maybe as far as whether he'd come into the team. Max Cooper's obviously served his suspension, but Shaughnessy's performances over the last couple of weeks have sort of elevated him to at least keeping that position, and he certainly didn't do anything wrong last week. So no, I can't imagine there'd be any changes.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at the last 5 games, we've had 4 wins in the last 5. They've had 4 losses and 1 win in the last 5. Last time we played them, or the last 3 games, they beat us 3-0 away from home on the Sunshine Coast. We played them in a friendly, apparently, in August, which was a 3-1 win to us. And in the last time we played them at home was a 3-1 win to us beginning of last year, 21st of February, so obviously last season. 8-6-0 overall season record. No draws. We don't do those. They've had a 6-6-3 at the moment. So, yeah, it's all looking really good for us. But it's just Brisbane have well and truly canned that Raw Salona tag with Michael Valkanis. They are I wouldn't go so far as to say the grubs, but they're certainly the most physical and in-your-face team in the league at the moment. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see how we handle that.
Yeah, they've made no, they've certainly had no qualms about sort of showing or telling everyone that they'll be up to play anyone at any time on any pitch, and they certainly had a lot of success with that earlier in the season. I didn't realize they were only 1-5 over the last 5 matches. I guess that goes to show, how much their early run, how much their early run propelled them into, a good position, because they're still like, in a decent spot on the table. They're only a couple of points behind us. So, disregarding the form, it's certainly not going to be an easy game for the Jets. When they've got some experience there, like they've got some quality there, like Jay O'Shea, etc. They've got some ex-Jets there, like Vidic, who hasn't been starting for the last couple of weeks, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the pitch at some point. Um, and they've all got a bit of mongrel in them. So if they can get an early goal, I think they're going to make it really, really difficult for us.
Yeah.
Um, if we can get an early goal, like maybe 19 seconds this time, lucky, uh,
It'd be nice.
then I think we've got the opportunity to potentially run away with it. Like, I mean, I still, like, remember, unfortunately, back to those days where, like, Ange had them playing full Barcelona and Ronaldo, Reynaldo scoring like a hat trick against us at home from what I remember, and maybe us losing 5 or 6 nil. Or they've got the potential that if they take their chances early and we maybe fluff a few, that it's going to be a very, very difficult game.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, yeah, the previous seasons where it used to be we'd always lose against them at home and we'd always win against them away. That doesn't really seem to be the way it goes anymore. Head to head in this fixture, 18 wins to the Jets, 9 draws, and 17 wins to Brisbane. So it's all pretty close. So looking at it on the homes side of things, it is equal, 9 wins each and 6 draws. So yeah, it's neck and neck, but those sorts of things don't really make a difference. They've got a game in hand over us. They've played 15 games. We've played 14. They're 3 points behind us. So yeah, if we can win this week against them, that will put more distance between us and the bottom of the six, and it would go a long way into solidifying our position in the top in the top four.
It will, and I'm sure that we'll go into the game as favourites. That's not necessarily a good thing for this team. Um,
Yep.
but it's the for the reasons I previously stated. I have to say that I think Brisbane will win. My heart's saying Jets, but my head, is saying, yeah, Brisbane will win, and it'll be a 2-0 win to Brisbane.
Well, they haven't done so. Looking at the results in the last 5 matches, so that fixture that I talked about from last week was a 3-2 loss against Adelaide. The one match that they won was a 2-1 win over 2-1 win over Perth. And then teams above them in the table, a 2-0 loss against Auckland, a 1-0 loss against City, and a 3-0 loss against Phoenix. They haven't really done that well against teams above them in the table. So hopefully that stands us in some really good stead.
I hope so, and I'm pretty sure they were winning 2-0 last week.
Yep.
Um, yeah, fairly confident, or at least, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was a home game as well. They were at home against Adelaide.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I said, it was a substitution performance. He came on and scored 3. So they were certainly looking well up, and and there goes my pick for that round as well. So they've done it just to spite me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, all the signs are pointing to Newcastle. All the bookies are going to be saying that Newcastle will win. So I just have to keep this rolling and say
Yep.
Brisbane are going to.
It's a bigger test than what I think a lot of people think, because we haven't really come up against a team overly physical and in our face as much. Well, we're not doing in their face in a physical way. We're just we apply a lot of pressure in the press and trying to turn the ball over. They are physical both on and off the ball, looking to disrupt rhythm and disrupt players and get into players' heads. And I'm pretty sure they'd probably have to have. I haven't got the stat to hand, but yeah, surely their card count would be higher than just about everybody else in the league. So you can tell by the way that they play, they're going to be in our face and they're going to be physical and not dirty, but they're going to be skirting the line. But yeah, this is a big test.
This is certainly the game where if you go into the match thinking, getting worried about it, being worried about getting injured, you probably get injured. This is the game where they will go into those 50-50s at 100%.
Yeah.
And if we don't sort of show the same level of technique and the same level of enthusiasm to win the ball in other ways, then they're going to smother us.
Well, how
Like,
do, how do you combat that though? Do you look to play around them and not get involved in those sorts of challenges? Like, do we set back and they thrive in counter attack and attacking when you've got possession. Do you sort of maybe cede possession to them a little bit and look to try and play our own game, or because if you try and match up, physicality to physicality, I don't know whether that's really going to be a way to be able to get joy in this sort of fixture.
yeah, I think that we potentially just need to be there to, or there to put our bodies on the line and understand that there's going to be a hard tackle come in, and that will probably result in a card. But if we can, win possession and they get a card, then all of a sudden you know that they can't do it again next time.
Yep.
So be prepared to take the knocks that you might get in the first sort of 25 minutes, because that's going to slightly nullify their game plan for the next 65. Um, if you go into it with that mentality that
Drink votes.
they're going they're going to they're going they're going to tackle hard, so and you're a bit scared, then you don't get your body in between them and the ball, so they don't get the card, and then they can do it again next time. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a real test. I think guys like Dobson, Taylor are going to be absolutely key to the press and when we are attacking, like and that quick transition, that type of football that we like to play. I think that Burgess has sort of already shown that he's prepared to take a kick to shield the ball, and he'll draw the foul. It's just whether or not the other younger guys, obviously you don't want to see anyone get injured, but
Yeah.
whether or not they're prepared to ride a challenge that's going to possibly result in an injury, just for the overall betterment of the team.
Um, yeah, I'm just hoping to come away with, well, I don't care how many goals it's by, just hoping to come away with a win and no injuries. You're tipping Brisbane purely for the reverse psychology?
Yeah, have to.
Righto. Fair
I'm
enough.
sorry. Like
No,
the only time I haven't tipped a Jets loss was I tipped a draw versus Macarthur, and we saw how that turned out. It
yep.
was almost a draw, but then it was snatched away from me at the last sort of second. So yeah, I've got to tip Brisbane.
Well, I've been tipping the Jets fairly consistently this season, except for a couple of draws. But for the most part, they've been saving my bacon in our tipping competition. So I'm not going to tip against us now. So all good.
The the one thing that we can agree on is if we both tip the same team, they'll lose.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
as long
absolutely.
as one of us tips away from
That's
Newcastle, then we should be right.
that's called playing the spread, isn't it? Right. So get along to McDonald Jones Stadium, 5 p.m. kickoff this Saturday, 31st of January. It's going to be a great game. And let's see if we can get over 10,000 supporters in the ground. We'll just quickly cover off the rest of round 15. Friday night sees the first game at 5 p.m. Wellington Phoenix hosting Melbourne City over in New Zealand. I'm actually going to tip Wellington to bounce back in this one purely because they're at home, and City got absolutely demoralised in the Melbourne derby.
Yeah, so am I actually. Like I was looking at that one, that was probably my hardest pick for the uh, for the round. But no, I'm with you. I think actually Wellington, although the scoreboard probably doesn't represent it, I thought that they played fairly well on the weekend. So yeah, I'll go Wellington.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to see City plummet even further
And I
down the
think I think
table.
we've got more listeners from Wellington than Melbourne anyway.
Yeah,
So it's fine.
absolutely. Probably more supporters in the stands as well. The second game on Friday night from Cooper Stadium, Adelaide hosting Macarthur. I actually found this the hardest game to actually tip this round, and I'm actually going for the draw.
Um, I am going to have to go MacArthur. Uh, they've proven that they're quite difficult to score against. They've had a bit of a resurgence since just before Christmas. So yeah, MacArthur.
Yep. For those reasons, but also the fact that Adelaide got the win last week when they, fought back from, like you said, fought back from 2-0 down, and 3 goals from substitute gives them a bit of momentum, but I think it sort of balances itself out. I'm tipping the draw. The second game on Saturday after hours is the Sydney Derby from Allianz. I'm actually going to be tipping a draw in this because I really don't want either of them to win.
Neither do I. If there was a way that they could both be deducted points, that would be fantastic. But
Yeah.
um, I think that I'm going to have to tip Sydney. I think that any chance of as much as Western Sydney got the victory last week, it was pretty lucky. I watched most of that game. They weren't great. I think Lolly still might be out, but I think Sydney will have too much quality for him.
I just can't really tell. I haven't really been comfortable tipping Sydney since he's been out. It's very inconsistent, and how many weeks does GVE version 3 take to extend his influence at Wanderers? Who knows? But yeah, I'm tipping the draw. The late game on Saturday night, 9:45 p.m. Is Perth hosting Auckland. I mean, as good as the Grifflet vibes are over there in Perth, they're not going to beat Auckland.
No, definitely not.
And it would be hilarious. It would be hilarious. It probably will be hilarious, and that would be even better for us if they did end up coming up with the win. Because especially if we won. But knowing our luck, we lose and then Auckland lose, and everything stays the same. The final game on Sunday, 5 p.m. kickoff from Gosford, sees the Mariners hosting Melbourne Victory. I'm tipping a resurgent Melbourne Victory in this one.
Yeah, they've actually sort of shown quite a bit of form since sort of we absolutely towed them up earlier in the season. So yeah, I'm going Victory. There's sort of too much happening at Central Coast at the moment for their minds to be 100% on football. So yeah, Victory.
Yep.
I think it's comfortably as well. I think it'll be 3 or 4-0.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. This went along a little bit longer than I thought, but some good discussion, I think, between Matt and myself about various different topics throughout the podcast. I did notice something popped up on my phone as I was looking at FOTMob. Andy's just dropped a little tidbit in our chat that Rado Vidicic has passed away, which is really sad news for the football community. Obviously, very well known. Very, very involved in the early seasons of the A-League. Haven't seen him much recently, but yeah, really sad loss.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that message yet, but yeah, Val Rado.
Well, Rado, absolutely. We'll leave it on that. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, subscribing. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, if you've got the ability to share any of the episodes or the subscription links, please do so. We're trying to grow the listenership again, but get along to newcastlefootball.net /podcast for all the subscription links. Sorry we weren't able to do video last week with Tane, but hopefully that's something we can do down the line. I do realise that the forums are down at the moment. You can read them, but we can't actually get into individual threads. That's a hosting issue. I'm liaising with our hosting provider. There's been some issues with the forums, so I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet and upgrade these bloody things because they're just causing no end of grief. And it is the forums that are the issues and not anything else on the server. So yeah, it's probably something we're going to have to change sooner rather than later. But fingers crossed. Just keep checking. Hopefully, I can get that fixed ASAP. Until next time.
Yep. Sorry, and quickly, and anyone from Northern New South Wales football that also quite regularly uses those forums, any financial donation to Furns, because he supports those personally himself, would be greatly appreciated. I know that's probably 50% of the traffic the forums get at the moment is for the local league. So any of the clubs out there or any of the treasurers, etc., if you want to do a little bit of a GoFundMe or a fundraising drive to help support those forums and take a little bit of the financial burden off Furns' back, yeah, I think that it would be greatly appreciated from him.
Oh, mate, much appreciate that. I'm actually looking to do a fundraising drive for the website itself, both the forums and the hosting, because the hosting, I just received an email a couple of weeks ago that the hosting's now going up to $450 for the year, from 400. So it's getting more expensive as time goes on. I do get them. I do host locally with a local company, so it is expensive, but they do provide really good technical support, and get in contact with us in a timely manner. So I'm trying to, rather than go with a shit service from overseas that won't cost as much, but takes forever to get a response from them, all that sort of thing. I'll be looking to try and get some sort of fundraising drive in the next couple of weeks sorted. So hold fire on that, Matt. Really appreciate you saying that. If you have the opportunity to possibly do something of a donation, get in contact via the email, podcast@newcastlefootball.net, or via the socials. Drop us a DM at Jetstream Newy on all of the social media services. We are also available on YouTube. The podcast is getting posted to YouTube TV now as well. If you're wanting to put your hand up to say you're available to help contribute to the running of the website, that will be much appreciated. Just drop us a line. Hold fire for a few weeks, though. I'm going to try and set something up on the main part of the website to that people can donate to, and we can try and get some of those costs covered. But much appreciate that, mate. We're going to call an end to that. So thank you very much, and until next time, vamos al Jerkos.
I'm on the Jets.
That went on for about 40 minutes longer than I thought would.
It's on par with what we normally do.
Well, and we didn't even have like a massive gap between games to talk about this week. It was just talking about stuff.
The tangents, mate. We went on a 30-minute tangent in between the halves. So.
Yeah, we did. But it's all good content.